So, 7 months ago, I'm sitting back on my bed. My phone's going off. Bing, 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 bing. Right? I'm getting all these messages, mostly from family, some friends. And, they're like, yo, congratulations, 30 years old, 30 years old. You just turned 30 years old. You just turned 30 years old, 30 years old. Congratulations, 30 years old, 30 years old. You just turned 30, the dirty 30s. You know what I'm saying? All that 30 this, 30 that. You just turned 30. And I remember I'm sitting back on my bed, right? And I'm just depressed. I'm just absolutely fucking depressed. Right? I'm sitting there like, damn. Why haven't I achieved the things I said I would achieve in my 20s? Right? Where is this success? The success that I imagined, that I envisioned in my 20s. I thought I'd be here 30. I'm thinking back to when I was in high school, and in high school where you had those little graduation books, and they said, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? And I was that cocky little student, was like, yo, by the time I'm 30, man, you're gonna see a Lambo, you're gonna see I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have that, I'm gonna have my life sorted out, I'm gonna be living like this, and I'm gonna be living like that. And it's all starting to hit me. It's all starting to sink. I'm like, damn, I'm 30 and I'm a fucking failure. This is what I'm thinking, right? I'm 30 and I'm a fucking failure, because everything that I said that I would do, everything that I said that I would achieve by 30, I haven't achieved it, right? So then I sit down and I get into the victim. I play the whole victim mindset. You know that shit that you do? That whole victim shit that we all do, like, oh, whose fault is it? And it's the world's fault that I'm not where I need to head at. And then, eventually, after like 1 or 2 months of just being depressed and being sad, I kind of snap out of it. I snap out of it and I look myself in the mirror and I'm like, all right, keep it real. Why are you not where you want to be? Why are you not where you want to be for real? Like, what's the truth? Right? And the answer is, as much as I hate to admit it and as much as I hate to face it, the answer is because I wasted time in my 20s. Right? I wasted fucking time in my 20s. There's no way around that. Right? I'm looking at all these other 30-year-olds. Instagram nowadays and YouTube and social media, you see 20-year-olds and Lambos, 25-year-olds and Lambos, and that shit can be very fucking depressing. Right? It can be very depressing because you're always doing this comparison thing. You're looking at this guy and you're comparing himself to him, and you're thinking, yo, how did he do it? And then sometimes it turns a lot of people into haters. Right? People start becoming bitter. They start becoming jealous and envious, and they start becoming angry, and they become mad and resentful. And I was kind of becoming that person. Right? But I didn't want to become that person, so I had to be real, and I had to look at myself in the mirror, and I had to take accountability and find out why was I not one of these guys? Why was I not one of these guys in the Lambos and with doing well, making 6 figures a month, making seven figures a year, making millions? And I realized the difference between me and those guys, right? As much as you want to hate and as much as you want to chat shit and talk about them and whatever excuse you have to the world, is because they didn't waste time in their 20s. They did not waste time in their 20s, right? They got busy, they got down to it. They weren't going out when you were going out, when you were partying, when we were clubbing, when we were partying, when we were smoking weed, when we were drinking. They were focused, they were in the basement, they were sitting down, they were sacrificing their weekend, they were sacrificing their time, and it paid off, right? Now that shit is depressing, and that's something you just have to face. There's no way around that. You're gonna have to face that. There's no way around that. There's no fucking way around that, right? There's no way that you're gonna spin around that. There's no way that you're just gonna say, yo, I wasted all this time on my 20s and, you know, this guy's doing better than me because he didn't waste his time. Yeah, it's depressing, right? It's depressing. It is what it is, right? Feel it. Feel it. Embrace it. But here's the good news. I got good news for you motherfuckers, right? Good news for you. You're watching this, you just turned 30 or you're 31. You know, you don't have any kids, still in your early 30s. I got good news for you. 30s is your second chance, but it's your last chance. You understand what I'm saying? This is your last chance. See, because you had all these excuses in your 20s. Oh, because of this, because of that, because of this, because of that, right? And God said, all right, cool. I'm going to give you another chance. You woke up out of bed. You're still alive. You're still breathing. That means someone out there is looking down on you, right? Is looking out for you. Someone out there is looking out for you. You're still alive. You're still here. You're still in the game, right? We're still in the game. It may be the fourth quarter. We may be down by 20, but we're still in the game. We're still in the fucking game, right? So now it's time to wake the fuck up, right? It's time to sharpen up, right? All those little mistakes that you were making in your 20s, right? There's no room for error now in your 30s. There's no room for that. There's no room for error now. Now, you're in your 20s. You were peer pressured. You know, you felt like you were young. You felt like you didn't know. You were a bit naive. Use all those mistakes, right? It's all about perspective. You got to start looking at your 20s as that was just a practice. That was the warm up, right? That was a practice. That was the warm up. That was me just seeing, getting a feel for things, understanding things, getting a feel for things, right? All those failures, it's all good because you got to look at them as lessons. They were just lessons, right? Don't beat yourself up too hard, right? Don't beat yourself up too hard, right? Be accountable. Hold yourself accountable. I mean, you have to hold yourself accountable. I mean, who are you going to make the excuse to? I'm not trying to hear your excuse. You think the world cares about? No one cares about your excuse. Fuck your excuse. We ain't trying to hear your excuses. Hold yourself accountable. But now it's time to understand, okay, cool. I've learned my lessons and it's time to regroup, right? And it's time to go around two as we're stepping in our 30s. Because if you're 30, you're still alive, you have no kids. And I mean, even if you do have kids, I mean, it's gonna be a bit difficult, right? You've got dependables, but that's still no excuse. I mean, you made that choice. You made that choice to nut in her, right? You made the choice to nut in her. Right? Ain't no one told you to nut in her. Ain't no one put a gun to your head and said nut in her. Right? You made that choice. So you got to hold that. But that's cool. Use that as motivation. Use your child as motivation. You have a kid. Use him as motivation. Use her as motivation. Right? But now in your 30s, all that nonsense goes out the window. Right? All this shit like partying for no reason, drinking for no reason, having all these vices. Right? Wasting time. What are you doing with your time? Right? You in your fucking 30s, bro. What are you doing with your time? What are you doing with your time? Right? Every second has to be accountable now. You are going to be accountable for every second. Right? Because if you get a second chance, you get 10 years now. God is giving you another 10 years now. Right? He's like, all right, cool. I'm going to give you 10 years. And not only that, I'm giving you 10 years in the greatest time to be alive. This is the greatest time in history to be alive, to be successful, to make something of yourself. There's literally no excuse. You have no excuses. If you make nothing out of yourself in your 30s, then you were just born to be a fucking bum, bro. That's just what it is. You were just born to be a loser. You were born to be a bum, right? Okay, you didn't pop off in your 20s, but it's cool because not many men make it in their 20s. And I commend the ones who did make it in their 20s because they were a different breed. See, I'm not a hater. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, no, this guy's a scammy. Oh, this guy's this. Oh no, this guy's probably like, nah, shout out to all the young dons who did it in their 20s. Shout out to all the young OGs who were able to whip that Lambo before 25. Shout out to all the young OGs who were able to see them 7 figures, man. You motivate me. You inspire me. I'm not hating on you. I'm watching all your guys' videos, and now I'm locking in, right? I'm about to join you. I'm late to the party, but hey, y'all gonna let me in. Trust me, right? Yeah, I'm late to the party, but I'm definitely coming through that door, right? But now's the time. Guys, what are you doing? You're 30 years old. What the fuck are you doing on the internet? You still scrolling, bro? You still scrolling on TikTok? You still scrolling on Instagram? Bro, you don't have that time anymore. You still wasting your time on dating apps? You still messing with people you shouldn't be messing with? What are you doing? You ain't got that time anymore. You don't have that time. The only time if whatever you need to do now, you have to do it, right? This is the fourth quarter. This is the fourth fucking quarter, bro. Every second counts. Every play counts. You're going to be accountable for every play. Everything you do, you're going to be accountable for it, right? So I don't give a fuck what you have to do, bro. If you have to move out and isolate yourself from everyone, bro, if you have to go celibate for 1 or 2 years, if you have to stop drinking alcohol for 2-3 years, stop taking drugs, I don't care what you have to do, but you have to make the plays because the clock's ticking. The clock is ticking. This is not another decade to make those mistakes anymore, right? This ain't another decade. This is the best time to be alive. All these opportunities that are available. If you have to pick one time, I was thinking about this the other day. If you have to pick one time to be alive and make something for yourself, and you had a timeline, and you were in the beginning of time, and God gave you like a timeline. He was like, all right, cool. This is the inception of the world. This is the end of the world. You get to pick a year where you get to go and make something happen for yourself. What year would you pick? Would you pick the fucking 15th century? Would you pick 1200 BC where it was Romans? Would you pick the medieval times? Would you pick the ancient Egyptian times? Would you pick the white enslavement times? I don't know about you, but I would probably pick somewhere around 2024, 2025, around there. That's the time, because I feel like this is the time now where there's enough information, there's enough resources, and it's just, there's enough equality for anyone, black, white, whatever gender, whoever you are, to make something of yourself in this world, right? This is the time. Now's your time. You're watching this shit. Now is your time. But I'm going to tell you right now, ain't no more excuses. There's no more fucking excuses, bro. You got one more shot at this. You got one more chance at this. However you're going to waste this next 10 years, you're going to be held accountable for it, right? You're going to be held accountable for it. One thing I'm realizing now is I meet a lot of men, and one thing I do now is I observe men. I like to observe men because I like to see all these men who are unsuccessful in their 40s, in their 50s. I notice one thing about them: they're very bitter, right? They're very bitter. They're very negative. They're always complaining, talking about who they used to be in their 20s. Oh, I used to be this, or I used to be that, and then they'll blame shit on their wife. Oh, my wife did this to me, or this person did this to me, right? And I've come to realize, man, those guys, do you know who those guys are? Those are guys who wasted time in their 20s, then wasted time in their 30s, and then had to pay for it in their 40s and 50s and 60s, right? Because you're going to have to be accountable. Like I said, you're going to have to be accountable for all this shit. When I told you when I was sitting on my bed and I was getting that depression, that was me sitting down being accountable for all that shit I did in my 20s, right? And I know it's happened to you too. You can lie to anyone you want. You can lie to me, but you ain't gonna lie to yourself, because I know that has happened to you too, right? So now you get to decide how you're gonna deal with that. Now you're gonna decide how you're gonna bounce back from that, because it's all about the get back. It's all about the get back, all right? Guys, we're in our 30s. You have no excuses. It's no more time to waste. Find a skill, find a routine, get yourself in the gym, start getting fit, get your mind right, get your spirituality right, get your mindset right, get your body right, figure out how to get your finances right, and set yourself up for the next decade, because time is ticking. All right, I love you guys. Let's fucking go. No more excuses, man. We 30. Let's get it.